And we are recording. All right, hello everyone. I haven't done one of these for a very long time, so let's hope this works. Now I'm trying to make a video during the day in my new little studio room, which has a skylight and no curtains on the windows. So I'm having to make this video inside a cardboard box. So if anything looks or sounds weird, that'll be why, because of the reflections. So today I'm having a look at the Korg Electribe Wave, which is a terrific little app. I'm really very impressed. Now, when this came out a few weeks ago, it must be a month ago now. When this came out, there were quite a lot of people who were quite disappointed and didn't seem very happy with this app. Now, I was just made up because it's an Electribe using Wavetable synthesis, which I think is great. But some people thought it was too expensive, which is a fair comment. Korg apps are very pricey. And some people just thought it wasn't adding anything new. There was also a lot of people who seemed quite upset that we weren't adding, well, it wasn't going to be Audio Unit version 3, but as a standalone Groovebox, with its own built-in sequencers and song arrangers and stuff, I can't really see the rationale there of making it a audio unit. But so some people were unhappy. Anyway, I think it's a great little app, so let's have a look at what it's got. Right, so having a look at the Korg Electribe Wave, and this is the default screen when you come in. Takes you to the first pattern of the first song. So if I play that. Okay, so we have here a standard Electribe kind of format. We've got 8 synth parts, 8 drum parts, and we've got sound, or at least sound design creation for all of the synth parts, and on the drum parts we've got samples, and we've got a lot of samples we can choose from. So let's go to the menu up here. Now the A, B, C and D banks are all full of presets, and E. Let's pick one from F. So let's just go to an init pattern there and close that down. And as with other Electribes, other Korg apps, the IMS-20, I believe, and the DS-10, all of them sort of do the same thing, which is a kick drum and a beep. All right. So what's the special thing about this is that it's a wavetable synthesis Electribe. So if we go to the sound here on synth 1. This is our default sound. Now, what Korg have done, there was quite a few complaints that there weren't enough presets when this first came out. People were a bit upset they're paying that much money and having to do all the sound design themselves. Korg have now built in a fair amount of presets. If we go to program here, we now have way more presets than we started off with. So I can pick one of these. Pick a different one because I want a more interesting wavetable. Alright, so now you can see I've got a wavetable. You can see I've got an LFO. It's starting to scroll through the wavetable. The graphics are very nice in a wavetable representation. And this is how you make up your sounds. We've got a whole bunch of wavetables. If I click this, it'll take me to my wavetable menu. Not a massive number of wavetables, but a fair amount. And you can pick on a wavetable. And as with any other wavetable synthesizer, you're moving through the wavetable to give movement to your sound. So I go to a new synth here. Obviously no movement happening here. I'm just looking at a basic saw wave. And if I move the position through this slightly, now oscillator position. Now I've skipped to the square wave, and now I've skipped onto a triangle wave, and now at a sine wave. So this is the very, very basic waveform, and this is what you'd get with a standard Electribe. They generally have the 4 waveforms, and you can do all the synthesis you need from them. So not much in the way of wavetable synthesis happening on the init sound. If I move to a different waveform now, Let's try something like this one. So you can see here I'm going from 1 triangle peak to 2 to 4 to 3 to 4, sorry. So basically scrolling through the harmonics of a given sound. Let's find something more complicated. So that's a sine morphing through to effectively a square. Again, you can hear we're piling through the harmonics there. So let's pick on one of these. I'm going to pick on something. Try that. No. All right, that one. Okay, so I'm going to start with this one. So what we've got now is the sound, and to do anything interesting in wavetable synthesis, you want to move through the sound a bit. So the position here is the thing that moves you around. Over here, you've got some modulations and effects. I'll deal with that later. So let's start with something simple. So here you can see these two modulation sources, and by default my modulation here is set to position and here to cutoff, because these are probably things you're going to use most. I've got a low pass filter on here, so let's turn the cutoff down a bit and let's give this some depth. Right, so you can hear I'm now going through my cutoff. I'm going to make that BPM. Actually, I'll put it down to the key. And let's slow it down a bit, and let's give it a bit of reduction there. So okay, synthy sound. And you can change the shape of these modulations. So I can curve it up, curve it down. You can see the pulse wave changing, pulse width there changing there. So it's all change that, haven't we? Yeah, okay. And this kind of random one there. But I'm going to keep it that shape. And the key one here means I'm reinitializing this shape every time I press the key. So I can change that into more of an LFO thing here, but changing to this one. Okay, so you get the idea. So that's changing the cutoff. Now I'm going to put that back to there. I'm going to change the modulation for the position here. What I want to happen is I want this to scroll through a bit of the wavetable every time I press this, or maybe just as an LFO. So let's make it as an LFO. I've got it set to the, I'll make it as a sine wave there, like a double sine. And let's give it a depth. To there. And let's make it a bit faster. And let's take the position sort of to the middle, so we've got some scrolling backwards and forwards now. Right, I'm going to slow it down a bit now. Cool. So, and that's really it with it. I mean, there are these options here. I can mod type sync. Sync that to a pitch. I could also got this X mod, which gives you some pretty wild metallic sounds coming out of it. I've got this VPM, whatever that is, and a couple of others here: narrow, reflect, and sub oscillator. I've got sub oscillator I can turn on. Let's make it -2, very loud. Yeah, so I've got a sub coming in. Okay, so that's the basics of the sound generation. Now, over on the drum side, I've got plenty of samples. So if I let's go to the second drum, and you can tap these things in. And if I go to the sequence, I can now see here the sequence. I can reduce the velocity. You can have up to 8 bars per pattern, so you've got plenty to play with. If I take a hi-hat here and I fill the whole lot in, I can also change the velocities using these groove types. So if we take a tambourine groove and then turn the depth up halfway, and now if I play this, so it's quite nice because you can easily put one of these grooves in on a shaker or a tambourine. You can see here I'm moving slightly out of exact quantization with some of these, which is also pretty cool. Yeah, just here there's a little bit of variance put in so you're not too mechanical. And then over on the synth side, I can you can build up chords here, and if you want to edit them, so let's go to this where I've got 9 here. You can see I've got a couple of notes in, which is wrong. If I go and find the right octave here on the keyboard for that step, here you can see I've got the F3 and F3 sharp, so I can make that into a slightly better chord if I needed to. Or not, as the case may be. So there's plenty to play with there, and if you like me, I like to play around on here and then edit later. So it's very good for that. Now you can see here, you've got this motion menu over here, which I'm going to try and set back to nothing if I can. I'll turn it off, smooth. Right, and you can put motion onto plenty of different things as well. So here I can actually take the oscillator position or the filter cutoff. I can set that in motion as well as a sequence. So let's try that. Yeah, so now you can now hear I'm messing around with the cutoff, and you can do the same with the position, I believe, and all these other parameters as well. So pretty much everything is modifiable either by the modulators, modulation 1 and 2, or you can sequence modulations on almost anything in here. So loads and loads of stuff to play with in terms of funky sound design. With utility here, I've got 1 bar filled in. I can have up to 8 bars, so I can copy to there, copy to there, copy to there, copy to there. Now I can change that to be have a pattern length of 4, and here we are. Now I've got. Now I'm going through 4 identical bars, and I can edit those. So if you like me, I like to start with a simple groove and then make it longer. That also is very easy to do, and any one of these bars can be copied to anywhere else. So I can copy that bar there. Let's go. Oops, hang on. Right, if I copy that bar, and I can copy it to a different part. So over here. So that's now going to go over to, you can hear it now being played by the init pattern over there. So all sorts of stuff you can play around with. Now someone was asking me, well not asking me, someone was asking on the iPad Musician forum yesterday whether this is any better than GR16, the Groove Rider app, and what the differences are. Now, Jim was the developer of Groove Rider, really kind of stole Korg's thunder because he gave Wavetable synthesis into Groove Rider not 3 or 4 days after this app came out, which was slightly mean of him, but hilarious nonetheless. I think it sounds very different though. this has got a lot more in the way of, I think, more in the way of modulation capabilities and sequencing than Groove Rider. Groove Rider is an amazing app. I've got nothing bad to say about it. They do sound very different. You can hear from this. If I go and pick up one of the patterns, let's go and pick up something else. B. You can hear that the sound of this app is really it's hard digital. It's very clean and very clear, ringing digital tones. Groove Rider tends to sound more analogy than that. Even when you're messing around with the wavetables on here, I think this is a sound of its own, and it's very crystal clear, very sharp. So if you like that sound, then this is a great app to have. Now, Groove Rider does have the advantage, the one thing that has that this doesn't have, if I go and pick up Groove Rider by Jim here, is that Groove Rider, now that you can have wavetable synthesis, okay, let's go to a part, mixer, no, trigger. All right, let's pick one of these. If I go and pick a wavetable over on here, wavetable. Groove Rider has the ability to import serum waves. So I've added an awful lot of waves in here now into my wave section. I mean, it came with a load anyway, but as you can see, I've added hundreds and hundreds of wavetables from here, from the internet, just from a free wavetable source. And that's something that you don't have the option of in the Korg. So if you like wavetables a lot, then Groove Rider does have the option to import other wavetables. So that might be a clincher for you. It might be something that makes a big difference. Anyway, that's my brief roundup of Electribe Wave. I hope you like it.